Recording in progress.
Shri Gurubhyo Namo Srimate Bhagavad-padāya Namo Narayana Paripurna Jnana-pradaya Upadāya Satya-dukkha-satkaranaya Vidadāya Prītam Vadāni Sakritavān Bhuvidatvasadam Sarvesvaro Ujjaya Raghavendraya Bhajatam Kalpavrukshaya Kamadhenuve Sahaviriyam Puravavahaihi Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vishvidavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome friends, once again our journey to Kathopanishad. We are continuing for the 103rd week now. We are the 102nd week we are coming to, and we have seen 101 episodes so far. 102nd episode is we are into the second chapter, second adhyaya, and second chapter of the Kathopanishad. And we seen the continuation of the last week and week before last also. So one of the things that we have always seen is, what the answer to the third question that has been asked by the Nachiketa, the Yama is trying to answer. In that context, we were trying to find what really is happening to the entire body as well as soul, what is being talked about, what is the real because he is trying to explain. It's an audio problem.
There is an echo.
Yeah, are you able to hear?
I can hear, but there's an echo.
Yeah. Now is it okay?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay, fantastic. So we have seen, because the two questions as to what we have seen, because some of the doubts also we are trying to get clarified as to why we act in such a particular way, because sometimes, when you are supposed to act, because it is because of, whatever happens to us is based on our past action and the effect of that action which we will have to forbear in terms of our experience for which we will have to come into this world in whatever form it has been assigned to us. And that is what the philosophy says. And philosophy, when it says, because it is a continuous cycle. You get the experience, you get evolved yourself, and sometimes, you get evolved yourself to such a height, you are able to get enlightened. But all of us, will not be, because we will not be the lucky few, who get enlightened. We are enlightened in the sense, when we are able to take everything, as is happening around the world, nothing concerning to your own, because you are simply trying to be an observer or witness, what they call it, because that status, because though it is being discussed in the literature, you cannot, in the scriptures also say that, because people have experienced it. It's not that they don't, but to be a witness, is something, it requires several, because sort of you have to give up everything and all. But when you try to get the experience, what you are trying to get the experience is you are not gathering the experience and putting it into yourself and all, because when you are trying to get the experience, you are giving up whatever is preventing you to evolve. So it is like, because taking the whatever, which is all the obstacles, that is part of you, you are trying to take it out so that, finally you get into that particular path. Why it is happening, what prevents is, because always we do have our own dogmas, our own idiosyncrasies, and our own, because what we call it a vasanas, which we have carried from our earlier birth, and also the habits forming, because the habit forming thoughts, the thoughts, per se, are not the one, which is actually making you to get into the habit, because some thoughts, we get so attached repeatedly, because we invite that thought, even when it is not there. Whenever the thought comes, we encourage it and we feed it, and because at the cost of all other thoughts, a lot of other thoughts may also be coming. So what happens in the facility of thoughts that comes about, why a lot of techniques like meditation and yoga is being always advocated is so that, you are able to see, get into yourself and see, whether how the thoughts are coming. Are you able to keep the thoughts away and observe? In the sense, are you able to give up the thoughts? Are you able to see, thoughts will come, but thought will come, but then, you will have to allow it to come and go. You are only a medium through which it passes. Are you the medium which allow you to pass, or you become a check dam to capture the thought? That is what happens. So in that process, whatever is good, whatever is culturally, because acceptable, whatever is culturally not acceptable, that varies from society to society. So in our sort of, this entire culture, we call it, dharma, which is the righteous actions, we call it dharma. Whatever is not righteous, because whatever is not, because going to be helpful to you or to anyone else, we call it adharma, which is not, desired, because we give some sort of a notation to that, dharma and adharma. So dharma in one particular situation may be the adharma in some other particular situation. Because the situation in which you are coming, the situation, because your person, because to sort of attack a person is, because not acceptable in the normal society, where everyone is, working for themselves and working for their own well-being and their own, well-being of all others, because they are going about doing the job, and at that point of time, any sort of a himsa is not acceptable in that. But whereas in the war field, I think when a soldier is, fighting, because it is his duty to fight, because Janani Janmabhoomi, whoever is there, because he has to fight for his country, because in that process, he has to, because that is his dharma. Because for a soldier, it is a dharma, but for a common man, it is not a dharma. Because, that is what they have been, that is the purpose for which he has been to defend. It's not to, because attack, with ambition and all, it's to defend his country, he has been given. It is what normally we talk about and give it and all. Apart from all these things, because the normal behavioral pattern also, when we, because why, how it becomes dharma, when you are able to give, because those forces, which are preventing you to do the righteous action slowly, by understanding that and just applying that, when you find, because it is giving you some benefit, then only, you will call it dharma. So by just telling someone, you do good and you be good and all will not help. By being good, what is that I am going to get? That's what love. So in the whole world, the process is, I have been trying to do all the good, but I am suffering. There are so many other fellows, they are doing all sorts of unwanted things, and they are rogues and rascals. They are all thriving. Why it is happening to me? Why, I am not able to get what I am after? That itself is a thought, because, that you should not be concerned about anyone else. You should be concerned about yourself only. Because when you are, what your area of action, your choice to do an action is only with you. That you are exercising a choice. Whether your ability to do is given by the power that be, because whether we call it Atma, Paramatma, or Ishvara, or your own inner, the life force which is there, that gives you the energy. But the choice is exercised by us based on the conditionalities what we have developed over a period of time. So when we have developed over a period of time, once you have exercised a choice, assuming even if the choice is wrong, see, because we might have experienced in our good faith, we might have exercised the choice, but the choice, because which doesn't happen to be good, then we should be able to understand that, yes, because I have exercised, because this is not appearing to be good, nor, it is of any, I should not have exercised. There is no point in depending on that. The course correction, then once you have understood, experience is not what happens to you, what you learn from that. once you know that, then you are trying to correct yourself and you will be trying to exercise the right choice, as you would have thought based on your experience. The every experience is your ability to take a choice much better than yesterday. And once you have exercised the choice, is it that the end of it? You have exercised the choice of doing something. Because even, when you have to tell advice, to your children, you may be using certain words. Once you know, because some of the words, are hurting them, some of the words are propelling them to do something, which you never expected them to do, then you will try to find, because after all, because they have also got, because like they have also got their conditionalities, they have also got their body, mind, and intellect. They are also exercising the choice of receiving. And once you know that, you exercise the choice accordingly, and because therefore, slowly it becomes palatable to them. They are able to absorb that. This is once you have taken and exercised the choice, you should have you should take the responsibility for your choices. But very often, why we are having this problem of suffering or in the distress or in the relationship problem and all, we exercise the choice, but we don't have the courage to take the responsibility, or we don't have the ability to take the responsibility, or because we don't have the strength to take the responsibility. Once you, it's not that, because, and if you, what is the strength to take the responsibility? Once you know, even the choice what you have done, there is a better choice and all, you should have the ability to accept, our own folly. That is the responsibility. Once you say, because once you have hurt someone, when you say sorry, to say a word sorry, that itself is, taking the responsibility for your action. You don't have to, because we have got, our own egos, because our own conditionalities, it prevents us from telling sorry. Or even some of the bosses suffer, because from they are not able to say no. They know is a very good worker, because a person, who gives a lot of ideas and who is implementing everything in execution is the best. Even amongst our children, it may be, because someone who you tell them, they will get it done, because the another child, because it will try to think over and try to find action and because they have got their own way of acting. Everyone is different, they are all the children of God. And they have come through us, that's all. But that nothing more than that. They are all independent, because they have also got their experience to be obtained, and they have to take the, because they evolve themselves, to the highest potential in this world. So they are doing it. So once we have taken that and trying to correct themselves, once you say no, even to the person to whom you can say it is likely, because you are trying to, you will feel, because I will be hurting his ego. It's not that, because if you are really interested, you should try to put it in such a way. And even if a person, it's like a sort of a, it's a pill, because the pill will be initially, it may be sober to take, but finally it has got a curative effect. So, like, you should be able to put it, because you will not, you don't have to convince everyone, because going about it, but you will have to tell them, because it is not good for that person also, because he may be having, in his flamboyant, mood, in his ability to prove himself, in his anxiousness to prove himself, he may give some implausible ideas, but then you will have to say no and put him back to the ground. That is the leadership. The leadership qualities, when you are able to say no, and when you are able to say sorry when you are wrong, once you realize, even if a person, even if a lowest rank person, or even if a janitor, does something, I have given a wrong advice, I should have the ability to, sorry, I didn't know that you have done a very good job. You should have, that openness to accept it. That is exactly, the courage that comes in. That is the responsibility of exercising the choice. It's not that, once your choice, because, I am going to fold on, like, because I should be able to correct myself. I should be able to sort of disclose myself. Openness should be there. Openness to accept my folly. Openness to correct someone. And in fact, in Isavasha Upanishadam, one particular, because the mantra says, if you know someone is on the wrong path, even he may be close to you, you may be sort of having him in high regard to him, even if he is a boss, and you should have the ability to, in particular, because the ability to convince and put it in such a words comes, by process of your own intention. Your intention is so good. it is not otherwise. Don't want to see that man to fail, but you want, because that he should not get into any sort of a problem. He's such a nice man, he is capable of doing that. When you have the intention, and with that intention, when you try to give even a sort of advice which is not palatable to him, he will be able to take, though he will not be able to take, apparently he will try to reflect, because look, he is a person who never told us like this, he is telling something like that. But unfortunately, we are not able to have the responsibility of your choices, because either to accept our folly or either to accept someone, because we think, because it is sometimes, when you are not able to persuade someone, when you don't have the courage to tell, and you allow, things to go in its own way. That's not correct. So that's why Isavasa Upanishadam says, when you find someone is on a wrong path or someone is not exercising the right choice, avidya, what they call it. Avidya is basically, because it may be the right, because we might have heard the experience and we are able to tell them, he is still to have the experience. It is to guide him. You will have to correct him at that point of, no, this is not the way, this is how it is. That you will have to be able to tell whether your boss or your children or your subordinate or anyone. Once you have that courage, then that is it. And why that courage and everything, will have the purity of the purpose, because your intention is not otherwise. You are not into the politics, of the organization to see that man fails. You don't give an advice just to see that man fails. And you try to give him that he doesn't fail because he is such a capable person, he can do. This is what you come. Suppose, if he comes back and tells you with a reason, no, no, this is it. And if it is acceptable, yes, sorry, I gave a wrong advice and I should be able to accept that and do it. Unfortunately, we don't have all these things. Why it is happening? It is the ego that prevents us. The ego is nothing but me and what, mine and all that's what it is. So when what has been talked about, in this, when the entire body goes and all, when the entire body goes, in the sense, the personality goes, the ego goes. There is no more ego. The person will be remembered, by, I think, because of what type of a person, he used to tell once he stays, he never changes his words. He may be steadfast, but he might be wrong in so many occasions. But at the same time, because he might have done everything with a good intention. So that is what counts. Your intention and action and your courage to accept your folly and courage to correct others. And as well, because to submit yourself, because when you find, something grossly went wrong by your own action and get, because the whoever is the person, irrespective of that, we are able to correct, the life will be wonderful. And all those things are the one, because nothing but all of us are combination of our attitudes, thoughts, as well as actions, as perceived by others. But once you know in your intention and in your action you have done it, that is what in my command, I can do that. And the experience is, I don't have to go for a mystical experience. That is for, because the scriptures talks about a lot of mystical possible experiences, which a lot of enlightened masters have got. Well, I have, for me, my experience, day to day experience, whatever I have got and whatever I am getting, as long as my intention and action is same, and once I have got the ability to accept my follies and go about, and, because likely, because friendly correction, as well as, I am able to tell everyone with the right intention and my action and words are conforming to that, that is life. So when the life goes, because the two mantras we have seen, 2.2.4 in page number 108, 2.2.5, 109, so far we have seen. One is, because asyam vistram samanasya shariras chayaya deinaha, as this gets loosened, because when the soul gets detached, when the life force gets detached, what remains in the embodied self, the indweller of the body, with what happens to that? That's what in the question is. So once he gets freed from the body, because he is supposed to be going from the prana, because the prana is also getting because that is what the next mantra says. What remains is, because this finally the body which goes into all the elements, and dehat vimuchya manasya, get freed from the body, is what is that bring from the body? It is the personality, the ego, and then all your, because the impressions, because what are all your, because conditionalities, your thoughts, everything and all, the intellect, whatever is gained, is all in your subtle soul. Sushma Sarira. That Sushma Sarira leaves the body. It is still there because you are Sanatana. You are, always, because continuously you are existing, because it's not that, you are just because of the body. Because, in our body itself, a lot of changes have happened, because I was young, because, I might have been something different, when I was young, and as I have grown, because I have become totally different. So people can't, because what are these changes? And the changes have taken place, the transformation have taken place. I have accepted because I have got the life force continuously here, I am able to have the experience. That is why, because those things are also supposed to be a sort of transformation. Whereas the final transformation is also leaving the body. But I am not able to accept, because I don't know what happens then. Because till now I know what has happened. And I have also accepted. But I might have been young and, because flashy and flamboyant. But now I am submissive, because sedate and, because I am looking slouched, because of the age and all. Because that I will have to accept this also. I had a black hair and now I have got the gray, because full gray is there and I will not accept that, because that is a change that has taken place. But that I have accepted, because without any problem, because the life force is still there, I am able to continue the experience and know that. But the same experience I will still be having after this goes, but I don't know that. So this is exactly Kimatra Parisishyati. Dehat Vimuchya Manasya, what remains there? That's what. How do you, because because that means, once the prana is going, when the goes and the body is the sort of cadaver, it is there and all. What else remains is, everyone knows, because nothing, it's only Sutma. That is what the scriptures say, all the scriptures say. You are just get into the kingdom of God, because the other religions also say, they also find, because that is what finally, you will be in the kingdom of the God. God will see, because how you are to be treated or how you are going to be. For them, there is no rebirth, because but whereas we have got the concept of rebirth, it's there also in the Buddhism. It's also there in the Western religions. Some of the Western religions also it is there. Western philosophy also it is there. Whether it is there or not, because how am I to concern? I am in this birth, I will have to get whatever I want. That's what we are working. When you want to get whatever you want, when you are exercising the choice, it says Upanishad guides us a friendly thing, because you take, your own sort of intention and action, try to put it so that, you don't get any additional sort of encumbrance, vasanas, accumulation. Just you will have to, again come back, does it happen? Supposing, if you are going to a very sort of famous place or Taj Mahal and all, you might be, or any other place, which is travelogue says, there are so many brochures and all, you see that and you read and because you get an image and finally you go there. Sometimes, you are overwhelmed, because it is much better than what you have seen in the brochures and what people have seen. Sometimes you see, because they only showed like this, with all these flashes and all, but here it is as, because it is all our own conditionalities. The place has got its own importance as it is. Likewise, because the soul has got its own importance. But just based on our experience, just based on our own conditionalities, our own acceptance, our own strength, whether am I able to accept, my own folly and I am able to get across to the world, and whether I am able to take, my own condition, intention and action at any circumstances without bothering about the outcome. If I am able to take it, that is what finally, because you will be, for general people, who are accustomed to you, your personality will remain. The body might have gone off. People will still remember after 100 years, what type of a person he is. He used to be like that. Once he says, he will not go beyond that, even if it is right or wrong, because he is steadfast. Someone, is so weak, he will accept everyone's words. Finally, he will not be able to execute in final, because he's a good man, but he couldn't, do the things, because he was accepting everyone's words. So that also will happen. And sometimes, because, even the relationship, people will say, because some will say, he's always good, he was helping me and all, where you don't have any access to grind. But people who have gotten access to grind, they will say, look, what is that, because there are so many, because nothing great. In fact, I had all the problems because of that, all these things. These are all our own personalities and conditionalities. Once we try to accept the responsibility for our choices, and we have the strength to accept our folly, And we have also got the sort of equanimity to tell someone, with the right intention, their folly, and try with a good intention for them, because let them take it and the life will be one. Finally, that is what will be remaining. And whatever you have gathered, whatever you are, when you have taken responsibility for your actions and the choices, whatever you have made, your intellect would have had so much of sort of a evolved intellect will be there. That will be there in the Sushma Sarira. Finally, that is what, finally, when you have to take a rebirth or something like that, these things will come and you will be a much higher elevated being. So this is what they tried, and then the next question they not only stop at that, because the fifth mantra in 109 said na pranena na apanena matye jivati kaschana, because it's not that prana apana which is taking care of your body. Prana is the one which is taking the life force into you, and apana is the one which distributes as well as the detoxifies you, as we have said earlier. Martu Jivat, because just because it goes, because it is not because of the prana goes. Because prana, once it is good, the body will be up inactive. But prana also depends on someone else. That's what it says. It is not that, because if prana goes, yes, prana goes. Prana is there and everyone automatically the body will be, I think, because the body is, we have seen, this first mantra of this chapter says, body is nothing but the Ekadashapuram, because it's a 11 gated city where you are residing. That means you are not the body. That is very clearly said. Because once we understand that we are not the body, because I can, someone, because I can ask someone, if you ask someone, where is your eye? They will show their eye. Where is your nose? They will show their nose. Where are you? Where they will show, someone will show heart, someone will show head and all. What is that? Because you think, because they are, you are a finally fulsome personalities. You are the combination of all your thoughts, actions, body, mind, and intellect, what you have evolved, all the things. You are a personality by say, force. All those things are disembodied. This is not the body. The body is only the 11 gated city with the senses, which experience. They are also inert, they have been energized. Like electricity energized the bulb, refrigerator, heater, and all other elements. Because we are being energized by it. If the power cut is there and it goes up, and the power goes up. The power goes up in the sense when the prana goes, the power also goes up. So that's what said. It's not that fifth mantra said. It's not only prana, something else is there. Itarena tu jivanti, because but it is by some other factor. When it says, what is that some other factor? Because we say, along with the prana it goes up. How do we know? How do we to understand that? Yasmin yeto upashito, on which these two depend. This prana, apana depend on that life force. For instance, if you go to a house, if a TV is running, and you don't find anyone in the drawing room, certainly someone is there to operate, and someone, even the remote is there, someone must have operated through remote. You understand that. Likewise, when the body is functioning, there is someone else there. When the body is not there, someone, who is that someone? That someone is going to be answered in the forthcoming, with the verses and all. So this is, because they have made it into a sort of a cusicle, because they made it to what is that someone? Because it is the same third question of Nachiketa, who was asked, after the body has done, what happens to the what happens to the soul, and who under whose command, it is, what conditions are there? This is what he is asking. This is a normal question anyone would ask. He has asked, he is an evolved soul. He wanted to know what is that. He is already into, he's left the body. As per the Upanishad, he has already left the body. Ekadashapuram. The 11 gated city he has left. And he has already, that means he is already in the Sushma Sarira. That is why the interpretation of, because the Visishtadvaita and Dvaita, they say, what happened? Who is controlling that Sushma Sarira? What happens to the Sushma Sarira? That's what, they are just exploring that. Whereas in the once it is goes off, the personality goes off, because that is what the personality goes off. Personality is what remembered and all. And why personality? When the next birth comes, because you take the form of a sharira because of the past karmas, you all got. And what happens is, because how you get, all those impressions and the knowledge you have gathered, As per this, the Advaita stream of philosophy, because which is part of our own philosophy, it says, because that your body and mind are being lighted by the consciousness, and it triggers whatever impressions, it is having, because in its treasure trove, it is being lighted, and that comes back to the fore to act. The lost personality will come about and act like him. So this is exactly, because this mantra also talks about. That is how, we find, because in some family, because there are no choice, because we have talked about, you may exercise choice in your actions. You may exercise choice in so many things. You go to the supermarket, you exercise your choice in buying. Your choices are being again conditioned by the TV ads and what you hear from others, who have used the product, and what you think, is required for you, because based on your own necessities. But then it is more influenced by the ads and the word of mouth from others, the experience of others. That only, after all, we all know that we have been doing that. But when you are exercising the choice, once you are doing, because all these things, why I should exercise? Because because supposing if I don't exercise the choice, what happens? But there is a propensity to exercise, because you want to make the life more comfortable, and because after all, because there is no harm in that. You should try to do that particular facility is available, because earlier, we didn't have the computers. We are using the computers right, left, and center, our mobiles for doing so many things. It is certainly, because the facility is there, we will have to do that. When we are trying to exercise the choice, once we have exercised the choice, when the choice is available, when the evolved mind will give you a better option of doing. For instance, if a person, we don't have a choice on two things, in the life. In which family we are going to take a birth? Certainly, because none of us know, we are going to be born, here, and we might have born in Africa. I might have born in Africa also, and maybe US also, or somewhere else, because some unknown country also somewhere, I could have been in tribals somewhere else also, because if that was the my, because past karmas, I would have taken the birth there. It doesn't matter at all. I don't have anything at all. But then once you go there, your past vasanas help you. Suppose, you have been sort of a good doctor earlier birth, even if you are in the tribal family. So you would have had the propensities, of getting into, because that the medicinal sort of a field, because either in as a sort of whatever way, you are a nurse or you are a doctor or you are a surgeon, and all, automatically those come to the fore. They all, because from a family, who didn't have any sort of iota of experience on the medical field, the child may become a sort of a famous doctor and all. That happens. So that choice is finally, because we don't have a choice, that choice is commanded by our own karmas. That is why, because the Sanatana Dharma, we say, because to get the best experience, we should be doing all the good karmas, and so that the righteous one finally takes you to get further experience into that. The second choice, where we don't have it, who is going to be our boss? Can you always, you can't dictate who should be your boss, because you are being put into, sometimes you see, you have got a boss, who is like one of the best persons, who triggers every creativity in you and who gets you to the sort of a highest ladder into the organization. And on the other hand, you also get the worst boss. He's always criticizing and always, because trying to insolent in his behavior and all. You have both. But then, whom we don't have a choice. But then, whatever is there, once you have the ability to go by exercising the right choice based on, because at that moment, every day, because you will be evolving. First, you might be thinking a person is tough, but over a period of time, after interacting with him, you will find, because he appears to be tough, because he has got the soft veneer in him, and, he's very sort of a cooperative and he is helpful. That's what will happen. So this is what both these things happen. So when these things happen, so when finally, because when the body is leaving, those are all the impressions, whether it is in the Sushma body, Sushma Sarira, or even after taking the birth, because the mind is being lighted up by consciousness and all those things come. And supposing, if some of us, because everyone is not fortunate enough to have the art enlightenment and all. Most of us, because we are still in the path, groping, we don't find, because how am I to get into it all? What happens to us? And so many people, who are going through the sort of the flow of life, getting into whatever it takes. And what happens that these questions are answered in the next 2, 3 mantras. We will see that, because it is like, it always creates, gives a sort of a puzzling paradox, because the next question is, even if it is prana and apana is not the responsible, and what happens, because these impressions, whether they are in the soul, the Sushma Sarira, or whether they are only they lighted up with the mind. And what you can only go by whatever experience you have, because that's what, they're very clear about. Let's not get into all the mystical experiences which may come once in a while. Some of us may be fortunate, not all of us. So all these questions are going to be answered in the next few mantras. In the meanwhile, if you have any doubts, because we'll clarify it, and we'll try to conclude the session today. Any questions, madam? Last session you asked some questions, because we were to take it up last week. I couldn't take it up. If you have anything in it.
Yes, sir. I was asking you about whether love is the basis of everything which is happening in life. In the sense, today also you were telling about the purity of the soul.
Hmm.
If your intent is good, so when will you have a pure soul if you have a love-filled heart?
Yeah, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
so that is what at the bottom. The bottom is like, just if you live in love and gratitude,
Yeah,
life is made.
nothing. That's all. That's all. Highest evolution for possible for human being
The
in this life
highest
is that
ever.
only. It is trying,
But
because always, we are not able to be at every moment continuously. Sometimes, because it is overtaken by some other emotions. Emotional center is as good as, in fact, it's also required, like the thought center, because emotional center
Hmm.
is the finally one, which finally culminates into pure love. So the thoughts may, we may have so much of knowledge, scriptures and all, but finally the emotion center is the one which gives, because that, the compassion, everything comes out of that. So naturally that you cannot be devoid of emotions sometimes, because sometimes emotions may guide us a little differently also, because so that as far as we keep, as you rightly said, love and gratitude is the final ultimate, you have it, there is nothing more that is required. And whatever happens, you just, take it, because some of them may not be happening to your liking. Despite the fact,
Hmm.
because we will have to look, no, I have done, but let, because slowly things will change, because as then once you sort of visualize and finally, whatever you think will manifest, maybe not immediately, it will take its own time. This possibly, because that is accepting at whatever in the moment, that happens, because the mindfulness at that point of time, because that is the only thing. And I continuously to be grateful to everything. Gratitude, I am expressing, that is the highest receivership, because as every religion says and every sort of philosophy says.
Hmm. Okay, thank you. And just another thing, if you have a couple of minutes, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you. You keep referring to the 11-gated body. Those
Yeah.
11 gates are the five senses and the
Five
five
sense,
another thing.
the five, that is, two eyes, 2 ears, and two orifice of the nose and mouth,
Okay.
seven. And the knobby is taken here, because knobby is the one,
Oh,
in the womb, it takes this one. And then
right, right.
your two, because the excreta and progenitor, because genital, that is two.
Okay.
And then Sahasrara is taken here. The
Oh,
Sahasrara
Sahasrara, because
is,
that is the input of our
yeah,
Atma. Okay.
Sahasrara is the one. The life energy finally, see, even though you have a breath and all, because when the life is also going, as per our scriptures, it is only through the Sahasrara goes. Though people say it went through nose, eyes and all, finally, as per the scriptures, it is only through Sahasrara. It is just 6 inch above our crown. So that Sahasrara is considered to be the 11-gated city. And when the Sushmana Nadi, because finally it gets elevated, when the Kundalini also comes, it is reaching the Sahasrara. from Ida and Pingala Nadi. From there, because finally through the chakras, the Kundalini, when it
Hmm.
reaches the Sahasrara. Through